It is my hope that any future collaborative efforts in the greater metropolitan area that are based on close cooperation between Washington students, parishioners, and businesses could end up serving as a kind of springboard for further nationwide sustainability initiatives. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank our distinguished panelists who, each one of you clearly put a lot of effort and thought into your presentations, and I'm very, very grateful, and it gives me a lot of hope for the future. Before I say anything else, I want to mention that there are some books for sale at the back of the room. Also, there's quite a few handouts here. Please don't leave them behind. Take some with you. Take them to hand out in your parish. Also, we have handouts. They're in a bag. They're in a bag right here. Father, if you could help me with that. There's 2 separate handouts that everyone should take with them. One is from Father Robert Popacek, who is a member of our steering committee, and he focuses on things like toxins in the home. He was hoping to speak today. He was planning, but it was unable eventually to come. And so he created a handout to give to us instead so we can take the information home with us. The other is a sort of summary of the 10 points for greening the parish that was mentioned by Alex. And so please take these with you. Well, we've come to the end of a very long day, and thank you to all of you who've stayed till the end, and thank you for coming today. We're very grateful. We weren't sure if anyone would come when we began to organize this event, and it exceeded our expectations. We want to thank St. Sophia Cathedral for hosting us, Father Stephen Zorzos and his staff, and who did such a wonderful job in helping to put this whole thing together. Without their support, we could not have done it, and this is a wonderful central location. We also want to thank our distinguished speakers, every single one of them. It was amazing how, as each one would get up to speak, we would learn it was sort of like different facets of the same subject, and we realized that how not only how complicated the matter is, but also how important it is to us and how much there is to learn. And so we're very grateful, especially to His Eminence Archbishop Demetrius and to James Hansen, our 2 keynote speakers, as well as Lise van Susteren, who I think stirred all of us with her presentation. And I want to thank all those who worked to make this event possible, which is primarily the members of the Orthodox Fellowship of the Transfiguration Steering Committee, particularly our director, Fred Kruger, and Deacon John Chryskavgis was a driving force behind the whole event in putting it together, as well as Dr. Achilles Armantiadis, to whom we all owe a debt of gratitude, because he was able to, in so many ways, make it easier for us to, here in the Washington, D.C. area, to recruit our speakers and to organize our event. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you, sure. And before I move on, I'd like to also just say a few words about the fellowship itself. The Orthodox Fellowship of the Transfiguration, I probably should have said that this morning, because some of you may not be aware of why we exist or what this is all about. The reason why we exist is because many of us, I think, who became involved with this organization were people who both were concerned about the environmental crisis, but also people who had some understanding or training in Orthodox theology. And we realized that our theology has an amazing resonance with concern for creation, and because of much of you heard today about our belief that God is present in all of creation and has transfigured it through Christ, and has redeemed it as well. And therefore, we have a strong sense of reverence for creation is a part and parcel of our theology and our tradition. And that is the gift that we have to give to our secular society. And so the organization now for some years has been working and slowly growing. We've had setbacks of various sorts, but we're hoping that this event will help to become a springboard for far more activity. It is pan-Orthodox. It was intended so from the beginning, and it exists under with the endorsement of the Assembly of Canonical Orthodox Bishops in America, which was mentioned today, which is the successor to SCOBA. I want to thank all of our sponsors for today's event. Besides St. Sophia Cathedral here, Holy Cross Greek Orthodox School of Theology, St. Vladimir's Theological Seminary, the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese Advisory Committee on Science and Technology, the International Orthodox Christian Charities, the Orthodox Peace Fellowship, and especially I want to thank the Orthodox Christian Network and Father Chris Petropoulos for filming and recording the entire event. Thank you so much. And so it even simultaneously with our speaking today, the whole event was being tweeted online, and now there will be a permanent record of it online for anyone to see, accessible both from their website, which is shown here, myocn.net, or else from eventually we want to make a connection from our website as well. Also, we'd like to thank the Philosophical Societies of St. Sophia and St. George, who also contributed to making the event possible, and with regard to the food especially. Thank you very much. If you want to join the Orthodox Fellowship of the Transfiguration, if you come to our website, you'll see information about that. It would involve making some kind of donation, and there's an address there. We don't have a setup at this point to do it with PayPal, but I hope that will be coming soon. And now, I'd like to just say offer a few final thoughts for us to ponder as we return to our homes. We learned a lot today, both about the theology of our church with regard to God's creation, and also about the challenges and threats that face us as a society and as a world. And some of it is quite serious. Some of it is quite even frightening. And it can become, when we face something that is that frightening, it sometimes leads us into a sense of paralysis, which would be the wrong thing to do. So then what can we do? One thing we can do is change our own personal lifestyles, both with regard to how we conduct our lives and also how we order our homes. We can talk to our priest about greening the parish. And now, I realize, because this question was brought up, that some of our priests are utterly opposed to this and somehow feel that it is of the devil. I don't understand the reasoning, but nevertheless, I think that the best one way that can be faced or responded to is with the words of our hierarchs. It's not just Patriarch Bartholomew, but also the late Patriarch Ignatius of Antioch of blessed memory also wrote on this subject. And in fact, Fred Kruger has put together a collection of statements that basically verify something that we've been saying for some time, which is that every Orthodox jurisdiction, every autocephalous church, every major leader has at some point or another issued a statement with regard to protection of God's creation. And so this is not fringe ideas. It's quite mainstream. And if our priests or some of our priests don't agree with that, then I'd like to see what their theological justification is for it. And then next, please pay attention to what is happening in the world, especially here in Washington, D.C. The political solutions are not the only solution to our problem, but nevertheless, as we learned today, government policy does in many ways determine our fate. For instance, with regard to vehicle CAFE standards, the standards with regard to mileage on cars. It was when finally an administration took office that cared about it, that the standards put into effect, which clearly the automobile companies have the technology to meet. Otherwise, they would not have supported the project. They would have challenged it in court. And so the end result will be that we're going to end up with cars that are, or vehicles that will be twice as efficient as the ones we currently drive. And that's really good news. And so there is an example of the one way in which, like it or not, the government does, to some degree, make the rules and decide how we're going to order our lives and with regard to our energy needs. What intrigued me today was the proposal that Dr. Hansen mentioned. He didn't really go into a lot of detail. Of course, no one really had enough time to do that. With regard to a sort of a market-based system to as an incentive to change how our choices with regard to the energy we use, and that had to do with this tax on carbon-based fuels that would be charged to the producer at the point of origin, and the idea being that, and then that money is redistributed to every single legal resident in America, and then but leave it up to the individuals to make choices with regard to how they use this extra income in terms of acquiring their energy. The idea being that slowly over time the fossil fuel-based energies or sources will become more expensive and the renewables will become cheaper. It makes a lot of sense to me. I don't think that we should ever rule any one particular thing out or another. Rather, we need to be just aware of what's happening, and if we feel that it makes sense and it's not immoral, then we can support it. And so please, let's not rule that out. However, we did try to put the emphasis today on changing our lives so that they're more consistent with God's will with regard to being good stewards of this earth. But there is a dimension to it that is political. We must face that as well.